so I'm Lynn.
I'm Victoria.
And we are the LV Project.
So, before we begin, I just want to let you guys know I am a little bit under the weather today.
Aww.
So, if you see me saying or doing anything weird, just forget about it. Tomorrow, just, forget about it.
Oh, it's gonna be on YouTube, so everyone will see it.
Just be nice. No, anyways, but I'm here and Lynn is being very supportive, kinda. So, should be okay.
Yeah.
But, alright.
Okay, well.
What are we gonna talk about today?
Right, okay, so so for a lot of people when it comes to writing the application and for med school and for nursing school, one of the parts that we have to include are the recommendation letters.
Mm-hmm.
And so what are recommendation letters, or some of you might have heard of letters of recommendation. So it's basically, if you think about it in a sense, in our application process, we write about what we are good at, all the activities we do, and all that good stuff about us. The people who are reviewing your applications, they look at how good you are, but you don't have enough proof to say that you're actually done these things and done them with the good intentions.
Mm-hmm.
And so to use as like a backup or like some sort of proof or evidence, it's best if you include someone who will write a recommendation letter saying, what a good person you are, you have done these things, and also that you put the time, the effort, and the love into the things that you do. And so pretty much, it's part of being a well-rounded student,
Mm-hmm.
and the thing is, it's more than a grade. It's more than a grade. It talks about who you are as a person. So what kind of people should we ask for recommendation letters?
Yeah, so there are different types. It's mostly the same throughout the pre-health, but maybe there are a couple things that are different. But I think we think it's gonna be most of the time general. So what we think is a couple people that can give letter of recommendations are your professors,
Okay.
Your volunteer coordinators, if you're volunteering, or anybody that is usually in charge of the scheduling, or someone or like CNAs who is working with you, maybe your manager if you're working somewhere, or if you're shadowing a doctor or nurse or any other person that's you're gonna interested to be in that field, you can ask for their letter of recommendation. And couple no-nos are, if one of your family members is a doctor, I don't think you can do that, and they most of them, they don't want family members to be giving you letter of recommendations. So to be safe, we would suggest, and I would suggest to just a doctor instead of a doctor who's your family member. For me personally, to the nursing schools that I want to go to, the number one nursing school that I'm aiming at requires 3 letter of recommendations, 2 from professors. The application, the school did not specifically say what type of professor. Sometimes they say that they want, one should be from science class and one should be from non-science class. So mine did not specify that. So it wants 2 from professors and 1 from somebody who is a professional. So that's either, if I'm working, it's my manager or my volunteer coordinator.
Okay.
So it can also be like some religious whatever.
So like community leaders.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a good person to go to, but it probably might not be the ideal for some of the applications.
Yeah, it's a case-by-case basis, and you want to make sure to really read the application and what do they really want. Because even though in general it's kind of, the same, but different schools have different things that they want as the person who's giving you the letter of recommendations.
Well, that's nice to know, like the things, the people that you should include in your recommendation, a letter of recommendation. But how do you get a letter of recommendation?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I had to figure this out by myself, so you're welcome that we're gonna tell you how to do it. But probably your advisor will tell you.
Yes.
Also, this is just from our perspective and our experience. So, for me, I usually make sure that I'm actually doing well, either in that class, make sure at least your grade is B or A. So I want to make sure that if it's a professor, I'm doing well in the class, maybe, or if I should be doing well in the workplace or the volunteer place or the internship place. And then once I know that, oh, I'm doing well, and then I'm gonna, there's one step is check. And then the next step that I would think about is asking, I'm just gonna focus on the professor, but this applies to, like the previous people that I talked about, like this also applies to your boss or whoever, but I'm gonna say like professor. So the next thing that I ask myself after knowing that I'm doing well in the class is that does the professor know me as a person? How would I work in like a classroom environment, and how do I obtain, am I teachable, those kind of thing, something more than a letter.
True, that because if you just ask for a recommendation letter before you get to know your professor, it gets kind of awkward when you ask them, especially if it feels like you're strangers with your professor. I mean, it most likely that they're gonna say no, or they're gonna need a lot more information. So let's know your professor first.
Yeah, and you don't want somebody who don't know you to write about you. So make sure the professor know you as a person. And then another thing that I also make sure that when I'm taking a class and I think that the professor know me well and I'm doing well, to ask letter of recommendation. It's better rather than to wait for the perfect person to write a letter of recommendation, because I think it's better to have extras. If your school required 3, if you have 5, it's better to have 5 than 1. Because from the 5, you can, in the very end, you can pick, which class that you think you did well and which professor knew you the best, and then you can pick, the certain number that you really require. So that happened to me, because in my freshman year I did so well, but I was like, it's still my freshman year, I'm gonna wait later to get a letter of recommendation. But the classes are getting harder, you're getting busier, I'm getting busier, so now I'm like, I should have gotten a letter of recommendation. Better to have more than to have less. Also, before you actually ask the professor, I usually update my resume before I ask them. So after updating my resume, and then I would email the professor or ask the professor in person, usually 2 or 3 weeks before finals. So like it's kind of, they're prepared for it, because if it's during the finals or after finals, they usually are busy with gradings and stuff. And just another tips also that I keep reminding myself, also don't do it last minute. Make sure that you give the professor enough time to do everything, and then don't just ask for a letter of recommendation a week before I'm submitting my application. Also, like Lin said a little bit before, that though it's very rare, be prepared that the professor sometimes can say no when you ask them for a letter of recommendation. Do not take it personally. They're very busy, so and then there's different reasons why they say no. And again, if they don't want to write it, we also don't want to force them and don't really know what they're gonna say. So the time will come, do not worry, when you're looking for someone to write you a letter. Also, after they say yes, after all that thing, you're doing well in the class, you've prepared your resume, and then you've asked the professor, and then he said yes or she said yes. Be prepared. Sometimes the professor want to know you more, so they will set another time for like a special interview time, mostly just asking about like what do you want to do, why, and then or they just, if they already know you well enough, they will directly just, oh yeah, then either you can give the professor a timeline when they should, kind of be done. And then sometimes most of them will ask for a resume, but sometimes they don't. So that's all, like, be prepared for all that's gonna happen. Do you have any other, like, I'm trying to think about the other do's and don'ts.
Do's and don'ts.
Yeah.
Okay, so Victoria already covered the majority of them. Timing, yes, you'll need to be able to give them some time. I would say give them about like a month or so. Would be best. And don't do it about a week before, maybe like a few days before. Oh gosh, that'll be a nightmare for them to write. But also, the more time you give them to write, the more time and effort they're gonna put into it, and it's gonna make you look better as a student or as a worker, So there's that. Number two, like Victoria said, start early. I mean, for a lot of people who are in high school right now, they probably are going to need to ask their teachers for recommendation letters to get into colleges. And while you're doing that, please keep your letter of recommendation. They can serve not only as recommendation letters for applications to go to college, but they can be for job interviews sometimes when they need it, or maybe during scholarships. That's why. But even though you want to keep your recommendation letters, it's best if you update them every few years. So when during your last year of college, you don't want your senior year high school teacher recommendation letter. I mean, it's nice that you get to keep them, but update them as you get along, because you get to know more people get to know you yourself. And for those who are very shy about asking professors for recommendation letters, number one, go to the office hours, get to know them, because that's like the easiest way you'll be able to find time, that you two are able to find time and talk with each other. And if not, you can just schedule an appointment. If you want to just do a one-on-one instead of having a group of students and then having the professor himself or herself. And during that time, after you go over a few problems and say, introduce yourself a little bit, saying what do you want to do, and maybe like ask any kind of suggestions for the professor about how to probably succeed in school, or maybe research opportunities, because oftentimes they are kind of like mentors for you, so utilize that. And then as you get to know more and more about your professor, that is when you're like, okay, I seem to know a little bit more about you. Is it okay, or it will be an honor if you're able to write a recommendation letter for me, that kind of thing. Most of the time, it's after the 2-3 classes you have, you probably won't see them again. So during that short time period, best to know your professor as much as possible, and then, from there, you can ask them that question. So
that's great, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, now that you already know about the what, why, and how, and who, of this letter of recommendations, now you are ready to start thinking more about letter of recommendations. Just remember that in the end, the professors are very understanding. They have had a lot of students already ask them for letter of recommendations, and they have good intentions and they want to help us. So so just make sure that like Lynn say, go to the office hours, and I usually go to the very first office hours. There's nobody, so there's not like a lot of inline. But now that everybody knows about it, it's probably gonna be a lot of people, but which is good.
probably.
So yeah, just introduce yourself in the beginning, and I think once you introduce yourself, it's just gonna be easy to get to know the professor, and for him or her to get to know you. And we hope that you will have fun in the process of letter recommendation requests and such.
Yep.
Mhm.
Everything will be so easy and so fun,
Right.
as long as you don't procrastinate. So
Mhm.
it'll be nice. Yes. Okay, so that pretty much concludes our daily talk, not daily talk, but our talk about recommendation letters. So high-low time.
Yes.
So for me, from our last video to now, we'll talk about the low first. So my low, I already talked to Victoria about this, but a week ago I found out that I have 3 finals on the same day. What's worse is they're back to back to back. It's okay. I'll just barely survive that day.
We'll see, like, next video will be after finals, and then you'll be able to see our faces.
I'll probably look like a ghost.
You already do, so don't worry.
Am I?
You're just gonna look like you.
Am I just like so light that I am pretty much a ghost?
No, I think we both are ghosts. I'm so tired. It's week 9?
Yep, it's week 9 for us.
Mhm,
So
hair is
next
everywhere.
week it's our dead week.
Yes.
Fun. So yeah, but the high, I would say, let's see, do I have a high time? Do I? I would got to say, okay, a tiny one, but I'll say that during one of my biology labs, one of the things that we do is a project that we have to turn in next week, and it's about pretty much finding different types of plants, different types of animals that live in where we live in. And so for plants, we actually have to dry our plants, and then we have to press them. And so I've got to be able to know how to do that. And so maybe if I want to do crafts in the future, that is pretty much like nature type, drying
That's
plants.
fun. What
Yeah.
class is that? Which biology?
Biology, it's the it's the beginning biology.
First term of principles?
Principles of biology, yeah.
Huh, that's cool.
Second term.
Oh, second term. Okay.
So yeah.
Hmm.
What about you?
So my low there's this a little bit of personal emotional thing that happened. So I had to deal with that. It always, for me, when I'm sick physically, I still can concentrate and try to fight it and help my antibodies to fight stuff. But then when it comes to emotional, it was very hard for me to stay concentrated and such. So that was a tough few days, but on the bright side, I was able to overcome the emotional difficulties, and I'm still slowly, it takes time to heal, but I'm concentrating on finishing well this term, and I'm really enjoying the classes, so that helped. So I'm doing better. That is my positive.
Yay.
Alright, so again, we're so thankful that you guys are watching. The comments section below are still open, so please write something.
Constructive criticism.
Yeah, or something that you want to hear from us. Share this video to your friends, your family, or anybody that is interested in healthcare. And we will see you after finals.
Oh my gosh, don't even get me about finals. But yeah, see you guys.
Thanks for watching.